Okay, so the elderberries and raisins have been soaking for 4 days now. And really all that's doing is kind of making a tea. It's not getting much of a ferment going. There might be a little bit because of the sugar in the raisins, but there's not enough sugar there. We're just making a tea, drawing all the flavors out. And it's best if you stir this once a day just to prevent any mold growth and keep it in a little bit of a cooler place, if I didn't say that before. And now we're ready to strain it off, and we're going to add our sugar and our lemon juice and get the ferment started. Now you can do this a couple of different ways. You can scoop it out and use a colander and into a bowl. You'll have to move this around a few times. It's a lot easier. You can't see it, but I've got a big stainless steel pot here and a colander that I'm going to pour this through, strain all the juice off, and I'm going to mash the rest of the elderberries and the raisins to get all the juice I can out. So we want to be just down to juice before we add our sugars and our lemon juice, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that, and before I do, I'll get you a shot right here in the pot so you can see what this looks like before we strain it off, okay? Okay, so here's our mash. It's just that gallon of water, 11 pounds of elderberries, and 3 pounds of raisins. And we are going to go ahead and pour that through this colander and just take out all the solids. Okay, so what I'm doing here is mashing the elderberries and the raisins through the fine mesh colander in order to just squeeze out all the juice I can. And as a matter of fact, if you had a press or you wanted to pour this through some cheesecloth into a cheesecloth bag and really wring it out, you could really get the extra juices out. I would love to try a press sometime. I think we would just get a whole lot of extra flavor. But, one of the things that's important to us is being able to do some of this stuff with what we have. So that's what we're doing here. And it'll come out really, really good. So I've just got to continue pressing this for a few minutes. Before I do, I'll just show you. I don't want to leave it over the pot. It's just a mash. I'm going to keep pressing it for a few minutes, and we'll get back to it in just a second, okay? So we have strained off all the solids from our mash and just back to juice here. Now, I rinsed this out before I put the juice back in just to get any of the little pieces out. And I've got some of the mash here. We're going to add the water now. We need to add 4 more gallons of water to this original one. And I'm going to actually pour it over some of the mash just to continue to get as much of that flavor out of it as I can. Now, it is going to take a little bit longer to pour it over that mash, but we're just going to get a little bit more flavor, a little bit more of the juices out of there. So I've got about 7 more of these to go. Be back with you in just a few minutes. We've now got our 4 additional gallons of water. That's 5 gallons for a 5-gallon batch. With the juices that came out of the raisins and the elderberries, which isn't a lot. There should be a little bit more than 5 gallons. But when you siphon this off, you're not going to quite get it all, and there's going to be little dregs in the bottom. So that works out just right. Now we want to add our lemon juice. About a cup. I'm just going to pour in. I'm just going to make a guess at it here. Recipe I have calls for 3/4 of a cup. We like about a cup. You could do more. You could do less. This is just to add a little bit of flavor. And fresh lemons would be great, but we didn't have any, and we've got some good organic, just pure lemon juice here. So you don't want to use concentrate, you want actual lemon juice. Okay? And then we need to add the sugar and get the ferment going. Now, for this batch, we're doing 18 cups of sugar. I've seen recipes with more and recipes with less. We like this. I wouldn't do any less for this size of a batch. You could do more if you wanted to. 18 cups for this 5-gallon batch. And now comes the work. We need to stir a lot. We want to make sure that the sugars get completely dissolved. So we're going to just stir this and check it every once in a while. Feel the bottom. Make sure that you don't feel any sludgy sugars or anything in there. Yeah, it'll take a little while, so I'll come back in a few minutes. We have finished stirring, and this is ready to just cover up and let it get fermenting for a few days. Now, if you're wanting to do a specific gravity test, then now's the time to pull off a little bit of juice so you can get your hydrometer and test the sugar levels and the specific gravity if you want to do that. If you haven't brewed before and this is something new to you, you don't need this to start. Just go ahead and follow the batch, the instructions. It will work. This is for getting a little more particular, understanding your sugars, and I use it mostly for determining the alcohol content. And but we're not going to talk about all that right now. Just know that you don't have to do the specific gravity measurements if you don't want to. You can just take this and go ahead and cover it up, which we'll do right now, and set it aside. So we're just going to cover this again. We don't want any any contaminants in it, any crumbs of food, any fingers, any critters, any of the dust in the air. I'm going to tie this off. And the lid is just for a little bit of added protection. Now, I'm going to leave this right here on the counter for 3 days, and it should get a good ferment started, and it should settle any of the last little bits. You still get some stuff that makes it through your colander, and that should settle out, and then we can rack it into a car buoy to where it's going to sit and ferment for 4 to 8 weeks. Okay, so we'll come back then. See you soon.